Singapore already has a skyline that looks like it was designed decades ahead of everyone else. But just beyond Marina Bay, something stranger happens. A garden becomes architecture. Trees become infrastructure. And two enormous glass structures create climates that do not naturally exist there. The engineering team behind it wasn't trying to make a science fiction set. They were trying to make plants from Mediterranean and tropical mountain climates survive in one of the hottest, most humid cities on Earth. Wilkinson Eyre, Grant Associates, Atelier 1 and Atelier 10 were given a problem that sounds simple until you look at the physics. This is Gardens by the Bay. And here's what nobody tells you about how this place actually works. The project grew from Singapore's long-running ambition to become a city in a garden, turning reclaimed land around Marina Bay into something more than conventional parkland. The National Parks Board commissioned an international design competition in 2006, and more than 70 entries came from 170 firms across 24 countries. Grant Associates led the landscape design for Bay South, while Wilkinson Eyre Architects designed the cooled conservatories. Atelier 1 handled structural engineering, and Atelier 10 worked on environmental and building services engineering. The brief was unusual. Create a major public garden, but make it a destination capable of bringing plants and climates from around the world into tropical Singapore. Bay South opened to the public on June 29, 2012, and it wasn't small. The garden covers 54 hectares, while the two cooled conservatories together enclose more than 20,000 square meters. The flower dome is about 1.2 hectares. The cloud forest is about 8 hectares. Above them stand 18 super trees, rising between 25 and 50 meters. The cloud forest contains a 35-meter indoor mountain and waterfall. The super trees carry more than 162,900 plants, representing more than 200 species and varieties. 11 super trees incorporate photovoltaic cells, turning sunlight into electricity. The entire Gardens by the Bay project was built around a construction budget of $1.035 billion, excluding land costs. And then Singapore's weather started doing what Singapore's weather does. Hot, humid, sunny. In a normal outdoor garden, the climate is simply the climate. But plants adapt to it. The moment you put those plants inside a giant glass enclosure, everything changes. Glass lets sunlight in, but sunlight also brings heat. And if you're trying to create a cool Mediterranean environment inside tropical Singapore, conventional air conditioning would be an extraordinarily inefficient answer. Here's the thing about Gardens by the Bay that every visitor can understand. The solution wasn't simply to cool the whole building. The conservatories use displacement cooling, which means cooled air is concentrated around the lower occupied zone instead of wasting energy conditioning the entire enormous volume of air above it. Special glazing reduces solar heat gain, while retractable roof shading responds to changing light conditions. Think about what that means for a moment. You're standing inside a giant glass structure designed to receive sunlight, while the engineering system is simultaneously trying to prevent that sunlight from turning the building into an oven. That part doesn't make it into the architecture magazines. The super trees help too. Some act as environmental infrastructure, including photovoltaic systems, while others are integrated with the conservatories and function as chimneys for exhausting hot, moist air. The energy system goes further. Horticultural waste from Singapore is used as fuel in a combined heat and power system. The waste produces energy, while captured waste heat helps regenerate the liquid desiccant used in dehumidification. The gardens also use lakes and aquatic plants to naturally filter runoff before it reaches the marina reservoir. But here's something about this building that nobody ever explains. It isn't just the glass that has to survive Singapore's climate. Every ordinary system inside has to work with it. Cooling equipment, humidity control, shading, drainage, visitor circulation, lifts, maintenance, access. Even the plants themselves become part of the engineering problem, because living material doesn't behave like steel or concrete. And this part barely gets mentioned anywhere. The building has to be maintained continuously. The current operating schedule actually includes planned maintenance closures. In 2026, for example, the Cloud Forest and Flower Dome each have scheduled maintenance days. That's mundane. And precisely because it's mundane, it's important. There was also a very different interruption in April 2020, when the enclosed attractions closed during Singapore's COVID-19 restrictions. Flower Dome eventually reopened in July, with timed entry and capacity initially limited to about 25%. Within the first months after opening in 2012, the gardens had already welcomed its millionth visitor. Years later, the numbers became enormous. In 2024, Gardens by the Bay recorded 14.5 million visitors, its highest annual total since opening. In December 2023, it welcomed its 100 millionth visitor since inception. Not a laboratory, a public attraction. Compare that with other landmark structures such as the Eden Project in Britain, Singapore's Marina Bay Sands, or the Amazon Spheres in Seattle. Each uses architecture to create an environment people wouldn't normally experience. Here is the fundamental difference between Gardens by the Bay and every other futuristic structure we've covered. The building isn't pretending to be nature. It's trying to make architecture perform some of nature's functions. And here's the question that sits beneath all of this. What happens when a system designed to imitate nature has to be maintained by humans every single day? The reassuring answer is that the system works. The conservatories operate. The plants grow. Visitors keep coming. But there is no historical record showing what this exact combination of glass, mechanical systems, living plants, and controlled climates will look like after 50 years, because the complex opened in 2012. It is still relatively young. By 2062, the engineers examining its inspection records will have something today's designers simply don't possess: half a century of operating data. They'll know which systems aged well, which materials needed replacement, which energy assumptions held up, which maintenance schedules mattered. Today, we don't have that answer. We have the first chapter. And the strange thing is that millions of people walk through it without thinking about any of this. They feel cool air under the glass. They hear water falling inside the cloud forest. They look upward at the steel canopy and living plants. In 2023, the garden's 100 millionth visitor was Lester, who arrived with his wife and 2 young children. None of them are thinking about the thermal loads, the cooling strategy, or the long-term maintenance curve. They're just visiting a garden. And that's probably the greatest achievement here. Someone can stand beneath a 50-meter super tree, surrounded by orchids and ferns, while a billion-dollar engineering system quietly keeps the impossible environment working around them. No alarms, no drama, just infrastructure doing its job. But here's the detail nobody surfaces. The future doesn't always arrive as a skyscraper. Sometimes it looks like a garden. Drop it below. Would you visit Gardens by the Bay and walk inside these artificial climates yourself? See you in the next one. Verify Gardens by the Bay Singapore, managed/owned by Singapore's National Parks Board. Bay South Garden, 54 hectares. Gardens by the Bay Public opening June 29, 2012, 2006 International Design Competition. More than 70 entries from 170 firms across 24 countries. Grant Associates Landscape Design for Bay South. Wilkinson Air Architects Cooled Conservatories. Atelier 1 Structural Engineering. Atelier 10 Environmental/Building Services Engineering. Flower Dome approximately 1.2 hectares. Cloud Forest approximately 0.8 hectares. 2 cooled conservatories, more than 20,000 square meters combined. Conservatory height approximately 58 meters above the shore of Marina Bay. Cloud Forest Mountain 35 meters tall. Supertrees 18 structures. Supertree heights 25 to 50 meters. Supertree planting more than 162,900 plants and more than 200 species and varieties. Photovoltaic Supertrees 11. OCBC Skyway 128 meters long and approximately 22 meters above ground. Approved project construction budget $1.035 billion, excluding land cost. Conservatories use displacement cooling. Special glazing and retractable shading reduce solar heat gain. Horticultural waste is used as fuel in a combined heat and power system. The conservatories use waste heat for liquid desiccant regeneration. Gardens use aquatic plants to help filter runoff before discharge toward the Marina Reservoir. April 2020, enclosed attractions closed during Singapore's COVID-19 restrictions. Flower Dome public reopening July 11, 2020, with timed entry and initial capacity around 25%. 2012 Gardens by the Bay welcomed its millionth visitor within roughly 2 months of opening. 2024 Gardens by the Bay welcomed 14.5 million visitors. December 4th, 2023 Gardens by the Bay welcomed its 100 millionth visitor. Leicester Air and June Tan, 100 millionth visitor and wife, with their 2 children. 2026 regular maintenance closures are scheduled for attractions including Flower Dome and Cloud Forest. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.